Okay. Well, one interesting thing about this GoPro is you pretty near have to stare at it to turn it on, because the side the lens is on is the side that you have the on button, and now it's flashing red, which means it's recording and looking at something. That's a ton and a half come along that we're going to hook up, and as an auxiliary down here, down the driveway. I'll try to hold the camera pretty still, but it's a little difficult. I kind of wobble when I walk. So what you're looking at is a 1938 Cletrac model DDH diesel. It has a 6-cylinder Hercules diesel engine in it, indirect injection. The wonderful thing is that it's really old school for the diesels, because these things smoke like a freight train when you first start them, and they'll do so for probably 20 or 30 minutes, and then once they get hot, then they start burning clean. But anyway, it's actually in real good shape. Lots of work was done on this tractor in fairly recent years. Used to be an older gentleman owned it at Yakult, Washington, and he did a lot of work with it. And then we got it here at the farm, and it's been a real godsend to us here, because the kind of clay we've got and so forth, you can't hardly even walk in this stuff when it's wet. But what we're doing here is, here several years ago we got these ocean containers. We've got 3 of them. The one you see there that's gray with the fans in the windows, that we call that the water container, and we've got some cats in there, kitty cats in there that are in cages, that are in the process of being neutered, and then they'll move on to a bigger and better home. But this green container is a storage container. Make a long story short, there was a big mistake in the survey on this piece of land, which amounted to 50 feet. And it ended up this year, after a survey and after a complaint from a neighbor, that we found out that the majority of our stuff that we've had sitting here now for almost 5 or 6 years is part way over on the right-of-way and on another guy's side of the property, about 1.5 feet, but we're still on 25 foot of the right-of-way, even though it's our side of the right-of-way, and we want to get off of it. So as you can see here, we have a bank, steep bank, about 12, 14 foot high to the left down the driveway. And then where the container is set here is only about 30 foot wide. Then you've got a drop off that's about another 25, 30 foot. There's no way to put a crane in here and pick these containers up, because there's no room for their outriggers, and they're just boxed in. So we came up with this idea of utilizing the dozer blade as a strong back and support, and then I welded this framework on, and what you see there is it's a 5-ton chain hoist. I'm a little disappointed in it, because apparently I'm dang near at its capacity, because about as hard as I can pull on it. It did raise the container, although this is not the heaviest of the containers, so I'm going to have to come up with auxiliary lifting, or of course we've got, if we can even get it airborne a little bit on one end, we have a barrage of hydraulic jacks that we can use to facilitate it coming up higher. Now once we get them up, we have a bunch of small logs. They're hardwood logs. I'll show those to you over here. You can probably see them over here against the bank. There's probably, I don't know, 15 or 18 or something of them there, and we'll have a lot more, and some of them a little larger. But the idea is to put them under the frame rails of these containers. We've only got 2 containers to move. The green one, and then you can't see a red one. We call that the shop container. And roll them with the dozer up the driveway up to, well, this green one, the head end of it where you see it lifted, will be up there about where the front of that PT Cruiser is right now. And then the red one that's over on the other side, we call that the shop container. It will be pulled up about halfway up this container, same area the green one is in, except it will be, the front of it will be up just past where you see that fan over there, over the seat of the bulldozer. And there'll be a slight or a small deck between the rear of this green one and the front section of the red one there, that we can get in out of one and into the other one, stay out of the mud. But so far, this is as far as we've got. We've done lots of preliminary moving small items, clearing brush that had grown up in here. We've still got a little bit of stuff to clean alongside the container and get it out of the way so that we can insert the logs in here. But in general, this is the gist of the project. Now, I was wondering if I had enough strength built into this framework. The thing about it is I built a lot of stuff to lift some heavy loads. The problem with this project was that, number one, as you can see, you're talking about mounting to the top near of a dozer blade, and there is very little room to brace backwards. Now, I've got some on there, some pretty heavy channels, but as a backup, we've got 3/8" chain that is guy lined back to the dozer lift frame. And picking up this load today, I was pleased that the tension that I put on those ratcheting binders had not increased any with the load of the container, even though it's up off the ground a foot now. Had of those chains tightened down and become like bowstrings, I would have the first indication that the framework is starting to give, or it's weak. In reality, the design of that hoist is that one tube right there that's right behind the gearbox of the chain hoist. That's Schedule 80. That's double wall, and it actually is capable of carrying many tons beyond the capacity of these containers, even if they were loaded. And it shoots that load back into the base of the dozer blade there, and it's pretty well braced. The uprights that you see there are standard wall 4-inch pipe, but they're still stout enough to carry the back part of that load. There's really almost no vertical load being borne down on that cross beam. Like I say, most of the load is carried on that Schedule 80 that's out near that big D-ring you see. But anyway, what we're stopped for right now is I got a little safety issue here. I need to hook up a second chain into those eyes down there on the bottom. You see where that shiny chain goes through the locking holes on the container? I need to come in there with a second chain. I don't have any smaller chain that's strong enough. I need to get some transport grade 70. 5/16 would be plenty. And then right behind the Schedule 80 pipe, I will have another short section of transport grade 70, and I will hang that auxiliary 1.5-ton chain hoist on there and take a second purchase on this lift. The idea being that I can pull another 2,500 to 3,000 pounds and relieve a little strain on the 5-ton hoist, take up the slack with the 5-ton, and then take up a little more slack with the 1.5 tons, and thereby increase my capacity a little bit. Now, when we get to those the shop container, we're talking about a real sizable difference, especially at what we call the south end of it. There's a lot of big nuts and bolts and so forth in there. It's going to be pretty heavy. But we only really have to lift 50% of the weight at a time, and about 60% of the length of the container, because we can put rollers past the pivot point and then let the long end down and actually use the container's weight itself to raise up the heaviest end. It's kind of a situation of modern day Egyptian engineering, I guess, because we just don't have all the fancy stuff here to work with. But that's the story of farming, I think, in general, unless you're a super giant corporate farm of some kind. Anyway, that's what we're doing. I've got to wait now until, of course, today is Labor Day, folks, and any of your supply houses are closed. I'll have to go to Longview and get a couple short sections of that transport grade 70 chain with a proof hook at each end, and really can't do that till Wednesday when we're running around. But other than that, that's kind of an update on the container project at Hilltop Farms, and I'm glad that you stopped to look at the video. We're going to have quite a few videos here to put on YouTube in the future. I guess before I close today, we'll walk up here and I'll show you an old farm tractor. Most of this stuff is antique, but it's not treated as antiques. It still has to work. This is a 1957 Model 300 case. Actually a crossbreed between two case tractors over the years, a Model 310, excuse me, a Model 311 and 312. One model of that is a tricycle front end, the other is a standard front end. What we ended up with is the tricycle tractor rear end and the standard tractor front end. And of course a lot of that stuff is interchangeable, but it's a sweet running old tractor. Does a heck of a job for it. You can see it's got another little hoist on it, 1 ton hoist that we use the heck out of for moving stuff around here that's just too much to lift. But anyway, I'll shut up for now, and as soon as we get some more stuff set up around here and start making some progress, I'll try to get videos of the containers actually moving and some of the process of either jacking them or to show the actual progress that we're making with them.